So, guys, with AEW, they have a lot of stuff, coming your way. This week is Fright Night. 2 weeks from now is Blood and Guts, and then the week after Blood and Guts is AEW Full Gear. And definitely with AEW, they always run into this pattern of way too many special shows or pay-per-view level shows, followed by a pay-per-view happening after that. So it doesn't give them enough time to put matches together, really. So I thought to myself, what would be a really great match card for Full Gear? Because I think one of my goals with AEW is that I really want them to rebuild all their divisions very strongly, feature wrestlers, and feature ones that are very, very strong, really. So I want to go over my card, and I want to talk about every match. The first match that I will talk about is Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley, the Inferno match. And the reason why I want to do that was that there was speculation that Mark Briscoe and MJF were going to have an Inferno match, and they didn't do that. And I also understand that, there's a lot of regulations around that. Like nowadays, maybe that match won't fly because there are a lot of cities that may say that's way too violent. And then people may say, hey, that's not family friendly. We don't want this happening at our arena. So maybe at the Prudential Center, they might be allowed to do this. Or like in Chicago, you had that lights out match last year. So maybe they can do that in Chicago. But I really think that there needs to be another escalation if they want to continue fighting each other. And I think that they would be down for an Inferno match. And I think that'd be something we all can see, really. I think that it's something AEW wants to do. So, why not do it? And I have an idea for how they should end this whole thing at World's End. The next match that I have on the card is MXM Collection versus Dalton Castle and the Outrunners. And there's a reason why I want to do this match. This would be on the buy-in. Because during the buy-in, one thing is that during the buy-in, you have the Costco boys versus the Don Callis family. So I believe they did that match last year. So it's almost like, you're going back and doing the same old shit. But MXM Collection, they have a lot of personality. John Morrison is very underrated in AEW. He's kind of almost like the Hardy Boys, where he's underutilized when he could be doing a lot more. And then you have Dalton Castle, who I feel is very underutilized, and the Outrunners. So I think that it would be good to get people excited about them and be like, hey, you know what, it matters. And then also, they're in the Trios division. The Trios division has been very overlooked, really. So I think that you have two groups of people that actually draw attention and are very charismatic. And then the other thing, too, is that with Dalton Castle, you really have to show that he graduated from Ring of Honor. So you really can't do something like have him, with all that pageantry and stuff that he does to get himself over, just be like, okay, you're just a Ring of Honor guy. You're just going to be in Ring of Honor or Limbo type of thing. There has to be a direction for him. The next match, Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné. I'm okay with this match. For the main event, I want to do Hangman Adam Page versus Bobby Lashley. And the reason why I want to do this is because you can't do Samoa Joe. The problem is that it's there was a criticism with AEW that last pay-per-view had a lot of repeat matches. And I think a lot of people don't want to see that a repeat. You can do something, and I was thinking about this, maybe the Hurt Syndicate and the Ops could be in alliance with each other. That could be interesting. Or you could do something where it's Hangman versus Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley wins, or he loses, and then the Hurt Syndicate and the Hurt Syndicate and the Ops are in alliance, and then you make Powerhouse Hobbs the champion at World's End to take the company down a new direction, because he kind of deserves it, and they don't have a lot of big men champion, not a lot of people with muscles really, so that could be an interesting direction. But I think Lashley versus Hangman would be the best match to have, because this is automatically okay, we're not in repeat mode. And Lashley's been on the roster for over a year, and he beat Swerve very easily. So you could set up a lot of storylines with that and be like, okay, how much better is Hangman if he can beat Lashley, or how much better is Hangman if he can last a long time with Lashley? So that could be something. The next match is Brodito versus Jurassic Express. There's two things I want to say about this match. That, both of them are baby faces. Jack Perry has a lot of momentum right now. A lot of people are liking, them. So I think that would be a really great match to have. The other thing is that you'll have big man versus big man. Brody King versus, Brody King. King Brody versus Luchasaurus. Godzilla versus King Kong type of thing. So that would be the match to have really. And then the other part of it is that you could have Jurassic Express win, and then you could actually make Brody King turn heel and face Bandito for the Ring of Honor Championship because Bandito is injured. You can say something like Brody King's like, okay, this guy lost his confidence. You know what? I've been around a bunch of losers. I want to actually be a winner or whatever, really. So I think that could be a match to have, really. And also, Bandito's injured, so you can do something like him being betrayed. But then you're kind of burying him a little bit. But I think that would be the direction to go in. Like Jurassic Express versus Brodito, because you got to kind of do something with Jack Perry and Luchasaurus. If they're over that big, you have to kind of ride that momentum. That would be the match to have. The next match is Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita, Unified Championship. And this would be the match to have for two things. Like, I want for the Continental Classic for them to have a rematch in the final. So it's almost like they're fighting each other without a tournament right now. And then now they're going to fight each other with a tournament in December, really. So it's kind of like a good, part one, part two saga type of thing. So I really think that would be what to do, really. And also, too, this is a match a lot of people want to see. This is also good because in WWE, you don't see a lot of Japanese men, Asian men featured that much. You see a lot of people of other races, but that kind of is good. That's one of the big matches that they can have in AEW, especially in front of like the New York tri-state area. You have, two Japanese wrestlers, you have two Asian wrestlers face each other that are men versus like WWE where it's Io Sky and Asuka. Like, this is a good type of, hey, this is the match. A lot of people want to see it. This will be awesome and epic, really. The next match that I want to see is the Acclaimed versus FTR because they've done the storyline where Jerry Lynn's trying to get the Acclaimed back together. And then also, too, the other thing about it is that, the Acclaimed are talking about not working together, trying to get their shit together. So I really think that them having a match would be good. Jerry Lynn's like their manager now. And also, you can do something where FTR loses because Christian Cage and Adam Copeland come back. And then you set up Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR, tables, ladders, and chairs in Chicago. So this would be kind of a good thing. And then also, too, the Acclaimed Max Caster's from Long Island, really. Anthony Bones, I believe he's from New Jersey, if I'm correct. But they're both New York people. So I really think this is good. And also, then they win the tag team titles at Arthur Ashe Stadium. So it kind of makes sense. It's good, storytelling. The next match that they can do is Kenny Omega versus Andrade. I know there's some controversy around Andrade and him leaving his WWE contract. But the point of it is that they should just do it anyway, really. Just be like, okay, this is the match. Kenny Omega needs to be on more pay-per-views or he needs to get the fuck out of the company, really. And the fact that they didn't have this match at Wrestle Dream because because Andrade was wrestling in Puerto Rico, get the fuck out of here. So, this is the match. This is the New York City crowd, have a match. You've teased this match. Let's make it happen. And then also, I would book Andrade to win because you have to make sure that you're not just bringing back just to bury him. Look at Rusev going back to WWE. The other thing that I would do is Mascara Dorada versus the Evil Hologram. Because the problem is that you just had the Evil Hologram debut. And now he's a member of the Don Callis family. So it's almost like, what the hell are you doing with him? Like, he can't just be like a lackey or just there to be there to not really matter and just stand around there for a couple months, really. You have to be like, okay, we got to build towards the good hologram coming back, really. So the bad hologram has to kind of run wild, really. And there has to be a point where they have their match with each other. So I really think that have Mascara Dorada, have Evil Hologram go through a bunch of luchadors and other people. So I really think that that'll be the match to have, really. So Mascara Dorada versus Hologram. The next match that I would have would be a Fatal 4-Way match. It would a Fatal Trios 4-Way match. a fatal trios four-way match. So I would do the Death Riders, the Conglomeration, the Don Callis family, and I would pick another team on the I'll probably pick the Bang Bang Scissor Gang or another team, or even like LFI really. All right, that's what I'll do. LFI, Death Riders, Conglomeration, and the Don Callis family, and the winners of them will face the winners will face the ops. And the reason why I want to do this is because, again, there's a lot of trios teams in AEW. They need some shine, they need some emphasis, really. And there's a lot of people with personalities, the people that can do shit, really. So it makes a lot of sense for this to happen, really. Let's make the trios division matter, because if you have a division with a lot of personality, let's do that. And speaking of which, another match that I would have on the card, I didn't put on my list, but I would have Ace Austin in an open challenge match. If I was fantasy booking, I would do the open challenge point be Chris Jericho. And that would be his exit of the company, really. But I think the Ace Austin open challenge, I would do Ace Austin versus Chris Jericho, or Ace Austin versus somebody else on the roster that could job, really. Like, I think that you can do Hechicero if you want to make him a babyface, or if you want to make him a heel, you can do somebody else, really. Or even like Tiger Style, or whoever, really, because I think, like, I've been hearing Ace Austin's very underrated. He's getting a loud reception. So you know what? If you have someone on the roster that's building towards something that a lot of people are kind of really drawn to, ride that momentum. The next match that I would have is the women's tag team championship finals, and who I would have is TJ versus Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. And the reason why I want to do this is because I think Athena and Mercedes should lose, and then it leads to Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, Mercedes versus Athena for the ROH Women's Championship. And you take the title off of Athena because she has to lose. She has to be put on the main roster, and then you have to do something where you find your next woman for ROH, because you can't. It's not the Athena show. You have to make some changes with that brand. And you have to say, you've been champion for multiple years. People buy ROH, but it's not gotten to the level it should be. It should be like a developmental. So I really think that's why Mercedes and Athena should not win, so they can have the match, draw some eyes to it, and then you work hard on rebuilding Ring of Honor. And then you can set up Statlander versus Mercedes. Winner takes Statlander versus Mercedes in a match where it's like, where it's like, the loser loses everything. The loser, if Mercedes loses, she loses all of her titles. If Statlander loses, she loses her women's championship. And she can't face the champion, anybody for like a year or something like that, like the women's championship for a year or something like that. That could be something. That could be something, but that's why I wouldn't have Mercedes and Athena in the finals. But I would do the finals being TJ and Toni Storm and me. And I want to talk about this, that I want TJ to pin one of them to pin Toni Storm. So it should be like Anna Jay pinning Toni Storm. So that way you have these two, you have both of them, TJ, go on for a while. And eventually you can do Anna Jay versus Chris Statlander, or Anna Jay versus Mercedes Moné or something like that. So that way, or Anna Jay going on Ring of Honor and become the new women's champion, ROH women's champion. And the reason why you need to do that is you need to build new stars. You need to put eyes on new women. Toni Storm, Athena, and Mercedes have to get back to the women's division, because they've gotten a lot of shine. They've gotten a lot of titles. It's time to say, hey, you know what? We can't just hold everything, really. We have to have a champion losing. The same way when I think they had the Hardy Boys versus D-Generation X, and then you had Jeff Hardy pin Triple H. Like, and that helped launch his career, really. So there has to be something where you're launching your next generation of women. I would do Marina Shafir versus Willow Nightingale in a street fight. They've been teasing this for a long time, that these two don't like each other. There's been like beef and chaos between them. So you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, let's have that match. You know, let's call it a New Jersey street fight. Let's call it like a New York City street fight. Let's just do something really. They just have to really just get to it. Because, and also they want more women's matches, so I think that would work. You got somewhere Rhea Shafir beats up Harley Cameron to get the attention of Will Nightingale and said, "Hey, you know what? I really want to do this." And the winner of this match faces. They don't announce it, but if you have Statlander retained, then the winner of this faces Statlander, and it should be Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir should win to face Statlander, because they're teasing if Statlander's going to join the Death Rider. So I think that would be good to make a star. But if Willow loses, I think that they could do Willow and Harley Cameron. Like Harley Cameron versus Marina Shafir in Australia or something like that, or they can win the women's tag team titles. Like Willow losing in this, that would hurt, but it would lead to Statlander versus Marina Shafir, because there's a story in that, and that's kind of what we need to lead to stories. The last match is that I'll have Aminata versus Tekla, number one contendership to the TBS Championship. And the reason why I want to do this is because we need more women's matches. A lot of people want that. They have a really big women's roster. This needs to be a year of rebuilding. So in my thing, you have a lot of the divisions being rebuilt. I mentioned 2 trios matches. I mentioned 3 women's matches, and you can have Aminata beat Tekla, and then she faces Mercedes, because one of Aminata's goals is to be the first African-born women's champion, or win like a title, really. So you have to kind of say, hey. Or she could actually face Mercedes for the ROH Women's Championship. She becomes the Queen Aminata, the Queen of ROH, really. And it kind of goes down to what I've said. You need to build more people. So that'll be my Full Gear match card, bitches.